Are you listening to Mel Kiper Jr.? The patience, just the patience. Has New York not suffered enough?
We went from saying Sam I am to Sam I damn. Another interception.
And I was discouraged with his last year's playoff performance.
Yep.
But I'm really encouraged with what he's doing now. I think he's turned himself into a heck of a leader. I think those guys on the offense, they absolutely love him. So I like Sam Darnold coaching everything that he's brought.
Seeing ghosts.
Now Darnold backed up, throws one deep, has a man, and it's Cooper Kupp right at the sticks. He gets it right back with a beautiful throw. Darnold looking, firing, end zone, it is caught! Touchdown! Jackson Smith and Jigba!
The NFL has a Sam Darnold problem, and it's a problem they created themselves. They labeled him a bust, a joke, the poster child for quarterback purgatory. The guy who was so broken by the New York Jets that he was caught on a hot mic admitting he was seeing ghosts on national television. A moment so humiliating it became a viral meme that has haunted him for half a decade. He was the can't-miss kid from USC, the third overall pick who was supposed to save a franchise. But instead, he became a cautionary tale. He was traded for pennies on the dollar, bounced from Carolina to San Francisco, and written off as a career backup before he even turned 27. The league had chewed him up and spit him out.
And I don't trust Sam Darnold. He takes bad sats, he throws picks. I'm just not a big believer of him. Why am I not a big believer of him? Because I've seen him play his whole career.
But just when everyone in the world had given up on Sam Darnold, he started to prove the haters wrong. And the problem the NFL has now? The bust they created is winning playoff games. And they have absolutely no idea what to do with him. This is the story of how the biggest joke in the NFL suddenly became the league's most unpredictable and dangerous problem. When the New York Jets drafted Sam Darnold third overall in the 2018 NFL Draft, they weren't just getting a quarterback, they were getting a savior.
Now he's 6'3.5", 221 pounds. He's the consummate playmaker. He keeps his eyes up to extend the plays.
He was the golden arm kid from USC, the consensus top prospect who was supposed to end decades of misery and lead the Jets back to the promised land. The hype was intoxicating. The hope was palpable. And for 3 years, under the chaotic leadership of head coaches Todd Bowles and then Adam Gase, it was an unmitigated disaster. Darnold was thrown into one of the most dysfunctional organizations in professional sports. He was surrounded by a roster devoid of talent, protected by an offensive line that seemed actively hostile to his well-being, and coached by Adam Gase, a man whose offensive genius was so profound it was invisible to the naked eye. In 3 seasons with the Jets, Darnold had a 13-25 record. He threw 45 touchdowns and 39 interceptions. He was sacked 98 times, constantly running for his life behind an offensive line that was less of a wall and more of a welcome mat. His top receivers were journeymen like Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder. Solid players, but hardly the elite weapons a young quarterback needs to develop.
And that's a grab by Anderson. They have failed on 3rd and 6 or longer 30 straight times.
The organization failed him at every conceivable level. The promise of a franchise savior had evaporated into a weekly struggle for survival. But the numbers don't even begin to tell the story of the psychological warfare Darnold endured. The breaking point, the moment that would define his career for years to come, came on October 21st, 2019. Monday Night Football. The undefeated New England Patriots, led by the master of defensive torture, Bill Belichick, came to town. What followed was a public execution, broadcast live for the entire world to see. The Patriots' defense was relentless. They disguised coverages, sent blitzes from impossible angles, and made Darnold's life a living hell. Down 24-0 in the second quarter, a mic'd-up and shell-shocked Darnold was caught on the sideline, muttering the words that would become his scarlet letter.
Seeing ghosts.
It was a moment of raw, unfiltered honesty. A young quarterback, overwhelmed and confused, admitting that the game was moving too fast for him to process.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's the boogeyman. It's real. Sorry. He really said that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The clip went viral before the game was even over. It was played on every sports show, turned into 1,000 memes, and became the punchline to every joke about Jets quarterbacks. The label was set in stone. Sam Darnold was a bust who couldn't handle the pressure. He was traded to the Carolina Panthers in 2021 for a handful of mid-round picks, a clear signal that the Jets were moving on.
Breaking news here. They have traded Sam Darnold.
But the change of scenery did little to exorcise the ghost of New York. He alternated between starter and backup for 2 seasons, showing flashes of the talent that made him the 3rd overall pick, but never sustaining it.
Darnold steps up, deep shot for Robbie Anderson. He's got him! Touchdown!
The inconsistency, the turnovers, the bad decisions, they all followed him to Carolina. By the end of the 2022 season, the narrative was complete. Sam Darnold wasn't a franchise quarterback. He was a reclamation project that had failed. A journeyman backup, a guy who could hold a clipboard and maybe win you a game or two if your starter got hurt. He spent the 2023 season holding a clipboard in San Francisco, watching from the sidelines as Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, led the 49ers on a deep playoff run. It was the ultimate insult. The NFL had moved on. Sam Darnold was old news. But that's where the story gets interesting. Because while the league was busy writing his obituary, Darnold was quietly learning.
So I learned a ton. Just to be able to, spend time in that system, spend time around Brock, it was just a really good learning experience for me.
Darnold, couple of clutches, tight window toss. It is a touchdown to Ronnie Bell.
And in 2024, after a year of watching and learning in the shadows of Kyle Shanahan's quarterback factory in San Francisco, he got one last chance to prove he had something special to show the world. The Minnesota Vikings, a team with a loaded roster and Super Bowl aspirations, signed Sam Darnold to a 1-year prove-it deal. The expectations were low. He was supposed to be a bridge quarterback, a placeholder, a game manager who wouldn't screw things up while the team figured out its long-term future. No one, not even the most optimistic Vikings fan, could have predicted what happened next. Freed from the dysfunction of New York and Carolina and surrounded by elite weapons like Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, Sam Darnold didn't just manage the game, he dominated it.
Darnold again with time. Edge of the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Jordan Addison.
Darnold, good protection again. That's caught. Trent Sherfield for the touchdown. Darnold to the sideline. Naylor with the catch. Touches the pylon, and that's a touchdown for Jalen Naylor.
He threw for 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions, a passer rating of 102.5. He led the Vikings to a 14-3 record, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to win 14 games in his first season with a new team. He was selected to his first Pro Bowl, an honor that seemed impossible just a year prior. He wasn't just a game manager, he was a gunslinger, a leader, the quarterback everyone thought the Jets were getting in 2018. The narrative had completely flipped. The bust from New York was suddenly playing like an MVP. The media, the same people who had buried him just a year earlier, were now tripping over themselves to praise his resurgence.
I think he's a try-hard quarterback who tries too hard, too often to make the play.
He had finally figured it out. The ghosts were gone. And then, with the entire NFL world ready to crown him as the comeback player of the year, the playoffs happened. Wildcard weekend, the 14-3 Vikings hosting the Los Angeles Rams. This was it, the moment for Darnold to finally silence every last critic. The chance to prove that his regular season wasn't a fluke, and that moment turned into a nationally televised catastrophe. The Rams' defense, led by Aaron Donald, treated the Vikings' offensive line like a turnstile. Darnold was sacked a staggering 9 times. He was hit on almost every drop back.
Play action, pressure off the edge, down goes Darnold, Kobe Durant.
He had 2 costly turnovers. The offense that had looked so explosive all season was completely shut down, managing just 9 points in a humiliating 27-9 loss. The dream season was over, and just like that, all the old narratives came roaring back. Same old Sam. He can't win the big one. He crumbles under pressure. After the game, a dejected Darnold stood at the podium and took the blame.
But yeah, just missed opportunities. Got to take care of the football. Can't have the interception, can't have the fumble. Obviously, return for a touchdown. That's a huge play in the game. Yeah, just too many mistakes on my end. Yeah, I clearly just didn't play good enough the last couple weeks.
It was a heartbreaking end to a storybook season. The ultimate I told you so for every critic who had ever doubted him. The ghosts, it seemed, were back. And they had brought friends. And this is where the NFL's Sam Darnold problem truly begins. This is where the narrative becomes so messy, so contradictory, that most analysts just throw their hands up in frustration. Because what do you do with a quarterback who gives you an MVP caliber regular season and then completely implodes in the playoffs? Is he the 14-3 Pro Bowler or the guy who got sacked 9 times in a home playoff loss? The league couldn't decide. And so once again, Sam Darnold found himself on the move, signing with the Seattle Seahawks in the offseason, a team in the midst of a rebuild, looking for a veteran to steady the ship.
Sam Darnold signs a 3-year deal worth close to $100 million.
The 2025 season in Seattle was a testament to Darnold's newfound resilience. He wasn't the gunslinging MVP candidate he was in Minnesota. The Seahawks didn't need him to be. They needed a leader, a veteran who wouldn't be rattled, a quarterback who had seen the absolute worst the league had to offer and was still standing. And that's exactly what they got.
Goal, caught at the 3, touchdown, Garner sheds Levante David.
The way the offense is playing in this environment could be trouble, and right for the end zone, and scoring, and dunking is Texas Smith-Njigba.
He played through injuries, managed games intelligently, and did just enough to keep the Seahawks competitive. He threw for over 4,000 yards again, with 25 touchdowns. But more importantly, he led them to the playoffs, setting up a divisional round showdown with the San Francisco 49ers, the team he had backed up just 2 years prior. And the narrative machine, as it always does, started churning. No one gave the Seahawks a chance. Darnold was playing with an oblique injury that had limited him in practice all week. The 49ers were a juggernaut. This was going to be another playoff disaster for Sam Darnold. Another public humiliation, the final definitive nail in the coffin of his career as a starter. Except it wasn't. On January 17, 2026, in front of a deafening home crowd in Seattle, Sam Darnold didn't just win his first ever playoff game. He orchestrated a demolition, a masterclass in game management and clutch play that left the 49ers and the entire NFL world stunned.
This Seahawks team is a problem. Across the board.
They're wagging, dude.
Sam Darnold, this guy was let out of the building, obviously, in Minnesota. What a move for them, and they're special.
Sam's slinging it, and it looks like this is a perfect spot for him.
The Seahawks didn't just beat the 49ers. They embarrassed them in a 41-6 blowout. While the running game, led by Kenneth Walker's 116 yards and 3 touchdowns, did the heavy lifting, Darnold was the calm, steady hand guiding the ship. He made crucial throws when he had to, avoided the catastrophic mistakes that had plagued his career, and managed the game with the poise of a seasoned veteran. As the final seconds ticked off the clock, the camera found Darnold on the sideline, a look of pure, unadulterated joy on his face. The ghosts were gone. The bus label was shattered. The kid who was laughed out of New York, given up on in Carolina, and ignored in San Francisco was now heading to the NFC Championship game. And this is the NFL's real Sam Darnold problem. They can't put him in a box. He's not a bust, but he's not a traditional superstar either. He's a survivor, a quarterback who has been through the absolute worst the league has to offer. Bad coaching, terrible rosters, public humiliation, crushing playoff defeats, and has come out the other side stronger and smarter. He's the guy you write off, and then he beats your favorite team in the playoffs. When Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen scramble and make plays off schedule, they're called geniuses, improvisational artists. When Sam Darnold was forced to do it behind a broken offensive line in New York, he was a reckless quarterback who couldn't play on time. The double standard is staggering. The league wanted to bury him for the very survival instincts that are now allowing him to thrive. So, what is Sam Darnold? Is he the ghost-seeing bust from New York? The 14-3 Pro Bowler from Minnesota? The guy who got sacked 9 times in a playoff game? Or the resilient leader who just dismantled the 49ers to go to the NFC Championship? He's all of them. And that's the problem. The NFL and the media that covers it doesn't do well with nuance. The NFL needs simple narratives, easy labels. Sam Darnold's story is anything but. It's a messy, complicated, and ultimately inspiring story of resilience.